about the state science standards, and my question was, should the science standards be changed? But I think somebody in the audience has asked it a better way. Do you support teaching alternatives to mainstream evolution? Mr. Kessler?
I believe that when it comes to our math, science, reading, language, that we need to be on par with what the nation calls our standards for the nation. Now, in order to become a leader in education, then it does take a little advancing and trying a little, but we don't need to try to change the whole system either, which is what I think was tried to be done before. I believe that the standards that we have, and I believe that if we get into teaching alternatives, then we're going to get into that box of where do we start, what alternatives do we bring in, and then everybody's going to want their alternatives in there. And we just don't have enough time in the day to accommodate everybody and what they need. That is why we have a national standard for what we believe should be taught. Again, we can lead in that. We can advance that, what is already there. But to try to change that system or to add into that, I think that it's unrealistic. We don't have the time in the day. We'd be spending 8 hours a day on science if that was the case. So there are things we can do.
It is my opinion that there is an existing good and working process in place to review our science standards periodically. And that system works. We should leave it in place. Mr. Brown didn't say it, but I think the question that was left unasked is, would you support alternative issues like intelligent design or creationism to be put in the science standards on equal footing with evolution? And I will say unequivocally, I would never support that, and I will oppose it at every opportunity.
Well, I've worked in science for my entire professional career, and I can tell you that as I look at this question and have reviewed our existing science standards and the precursor to this prior to the 2006 changeover, you know, the standards that are in our language right now are pretty stringent. And I was very surprised, frankly, when I started looking at the details and the requirements for our kids to get through a science curriculum. I think it's premature for me to comment on what I would do or wouldn't do about science standards if I were elected to the board. I think that, you know, there are a number of people that would want to weigh in on that kind of opinion, obviously. And I can only say that as a geologist, geophysicist, you know, on my day-to-day activity, evolution is not a question that comes into play in my work, okay? I deal with a number of different issues on a regular basis, and that's just never a matter of question. But I believe that the best possible outcome for our kids is to allow them the fullest reach into the scientific domain that they can get their hands on. I don't care whether it's biological science, political science, geological science, whatever science you want to label out there. There are so many areas that need to be examined and addressed as science students as they work through an interest in science, that we should be doing everything we possibly can do to encourage our kids from the elementary ages right on forward to get a grip on science and to appreciate it and understand what it can do for our culture. And I think it's phenomenal what it can do in a very positive way for our kids.
Well, I was kind of happy to see that that wasn't the first question, because every time I ever talk to anyone, that's the first question anybody asks me.
It was a trick, David.
But as far as the science standards, I'm not about to change the science standards. I believe that they're adequate the way they are. If we want to teach creationism or intelligence design, it may be something that's okay to teach in a philosophy class or a religion class, as that's where they belong. But as far as in a science class, that's not where they belong. We need to be teaching science.
Okay, you pass the baton to the science teacher. The answer is no. Simple. Creationism, intelligent design, that's great. Nice philosophy. There's a lot of religions, a lot of cultures. People have different stories about how things were, you know, created on this earth, but we don't know. Okay, so let's teach evolution. As we do know, we have millions of years of evidence, and those kids can learn what that's about. But let me also add to that we have the Science standards, as I understand it, in place till 2012. Is that right, Carol? 2012? Okay. So it's not something that's going to come up immediately. We can all kind of rest and shift back to other issues. But in the meantime, I like to think about some of the ways in which we teach science. We need to help kids be able to apply it. They need to be able to make decisions about their own health, their own bodies. All right, am I sick or not? Should I go to the emergency room or not? Is this something that's really critical? Is my child's fever something that I should call the doctor in the middle of the night, end up with a $500 bill, or is it going to pass by morning? There are some things as a biology teacher, as a chemistry teacher, I taught my kids about how the world works. And they became much smarter consumers, better parents, better able to take care of their own finances, their own bodies. And I think we can put those into curriculum. They can make it really real. And when you do that, kids get excited about science. They want to learn it. They keep coming back to class with more questions. We don't need to make it boring. We don't need to make it a memorization of all kinds of phylum and species and all kinds of lists of things. We can make it exciting.